With all the craziness in this world, we are here to have open and honest conversations to help navigate our thoughts.
Sometimes we are right and sometimes we're wrong. But in the end, if we aren't learning, we aren't living.
This is Philip.
And this is Wes.
And we are
Two Bottles Deep.
Hello, Wes.
Hey, Philip, Edric.
How are you, babe?
Can we talk about the hair day we are having?
Honey, this is, do you see how difficult it is? Look at this.
Mostly looking at my screen.
Oh, yeah. Well, you look
that
good.
Looks great. We look, everyone. We just compliment each other. If you're watching the old YouTube.
Hey, happy Pride, Wes.
It is June 20 and 23.
It is Pride Month.
Happy Pride to
when
Philip.
homophobic people get angry and gay people
Very
do way too
uncomfortable.
much.
They are so upset that Target has stuff out for people other than them.
Yeah.
PetSmart,
Something about a bathing suit
Walgreens,
where you could tuck your penis. It was like a women's bathing
like
suit.
a onesie for trans people.
Like, okay.
Great.
Moved it to the back of the store. So anyway, happy
You know
Pride
what,
Month,
Joe Bob?
everybody.
Just don't buy it. Okay.
How are you, babe?
Yes, I am great. Speaking of pride, I've been rejected. That hurts the old pride.
What do you mean rejected?
Hey, remember last time we talked about the blind date from the matchmaker I went on?
He responded.
He
was
did.
like, it's a no for me.
No for me, dog. She did give me a lot of like consolation. She said, you know, it's not you. It's him. He's not in a place, but it's a rejection. I'm going to call it what it is. She's like, he had so many great things to say about you. The conversation was great. And it was. We talked the whole time. And it was like 50-50 because you know me, I'll talk the entire time. But it was really good.
I remember you saying you gave it a 7 out of 10.
7.5.
Oh, 7.5 out of
So
10.
it was
Yeah,
really
sorry.
good.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no go on that. So it's rejected. Boom. Do we have a
Sorry.
sound effect? We probably don't, but womp womp. No, that's not the sound effect I wanted. But anyway, that's what dating is about. And you look up to the Lord and
What?
I don't know.
That's what dating is about, and you look up to the Lord.
We are just a speck on this world. So there is more out there. He's a great guy, and I hope he finds what he's looking for.
Do you?
There's a lesson here. We should be happy for people if they're on their journey and they
Yeah.
don't pick you.
So you've
right?
got 5 more.
I flattened his tires, but that's besides the point.
Fine. I'm glad he had a car. Usually the people you date don't.
You're mixing me up with Jason, our guest from season 1, 2, and 3.
I had an interesting run-in last night.
Oh,
Yeah. I was at a local homosexual establishment. Shocking.
well, it's Pride, so you're
Pride.
there to support
Yeah.
the community. Right.
And we were having fun. It was really busy, great energy. There was Gaga music playing. And I noticed this guy, he'd kind of been looking over a few times. And it was me and 2 other people, 2 other guys. And he kept looking over, and I'm like, I'm about to get hit on. He thinks I'm cute. And he kind of beelined right for me, and I'm like, God, this is it. This is the big one.
Yes.
And he said, he kind of mouthed it. I couldn't hear him. I leaned and I said, what did you say? And he said, hey, your friends are really cute, but I like your shirt. I was like,
So you took him home, huh?
I mean, how do you respond to that? I said,
you.
thank you for the shirt, and I have cute friends. And he goes, no, I'm not saying you're ugly. I'm like, I think you should stop now. And then he goes, are you from Murfreesboro?
The hole keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Because if you don't, Murfreesboro, it's not a bad place to live, but it's like an hour outside of Nashville. And I'm assuming he thought I looked like I lived in Murfreesboro. I have no idea what that means.
I don't
So
know.
I
Where was he from?
Who cares? I didn't even ask
Oh,
at
you
that
did-
point. I'm just like, okay. I said, thank you so
So-
much for your input.
So no conversation.
No.
No, you're the 2 bottles deep guy. Because
No.
when people look at me in public, I'm like, oh, oh my God, they listen, and they don't. They
Yeah.
don't. They're just
I've
like
quit thinking
looking
that.
past me.
Yeah.
Hey, I was in East Nashville. You're gonna love this.
Let me guess, Wild Cow?
I was at the Wild Cow.
You've only mentioned it
The
90
best- Well,
times.
this isn't about the restaurant, but no, I was at Gray's, their sister restaurant, Graze, and another vegan place. Great club wrap. It's just amazing. So I'm standing outside, waiting on some future podcast guests. We were doing a pre-interview, and this guy's like smiling, walking up to me, and I'm like, and he like super cute, right? And I'm like, wow, okay, a similar story is going to happen. He's like, you're the podcast guy, right? And I said, yes, I am. And our 2 future guests are like, what is happening, right? He's like, oh, yeah, I know Philip. I listened. It was Ryan.
Oh,
Somebody.
Ryan Badgley.
Ryan.
Oh, Ryan, I know
Yeah.
you're listening. Thank you for listening, and thank you for making Wes feel like he was getting hit on.
It was so funny. And then, a friend of Philip's is a friend of mine, Ryan. He's like, yeah, we live in East Nashville. So we talked for a couple seconds. And
He's great.
yeah, that was so awesome.
He's such a sweetheart.
Hey, thanks to and another Pride Month, thanks to the straight allies out there who either listen and share or just, I don't know, buy Pride stuff at Target, hold a door for an old lady. I love doing that.
You do. You love doing that. Speaking of dating, I thought I was falling in love for 2 weeks, a week and a half.
How do I not know
Bumble.
about this already?
Well, because I feel like if I tell people that I'm talking to somebody 400
jinx
times,
it.
well, no, it just sounds like I'm a whore. Like, I'm like, I've got this guy I'm really interested in. They're like, what happened with the last one? I'm like, oh, I hate him. Like, that was it was 2 hours ago.
You need me to flatten tires.
So, no, so I'm in my mind now, I'm going to kind of chat with people off the dating apps until it gets serious, and then I'll mention it. Not serious, but I'll mention it when I have a date.
Right. Okay.
Right. And that's what I thought we were heading towards. 2 weeks, great conversation. We even took it off the dating app and on text. And I'm like, yeah, this is getting serious. And then 2 days ago, he was like, hey, can I ask you a question? I'm like, always. I love questions. He's like, what's something interesting about you that I don't know? And I was like, I said, well, I'm terrified of being death rolled by an alligator.
You are.
I am.
You are. Especially here in Tennessee, it can happen at any moment.
Any moment. And he said, like, there was no break in the conversation. As soon as I texted it, you could see the dots show up. And I'm like, oh, perfect. And he goes, I'm married. I said,
Oh.
to a man? Is this like inviting me into a polyamory? He goes, no, I have a wife and 2 kids. I think that's pretty interesting. I'm like, it is interesting. And also not what I'm looking for. And then he starts to like lecture me on like being more, he's like, oh, gay people are supposed to be so accepting, or we got to be accepting of gay people. But I'm like, okay, we're not even having this conversation. You're cheating on your wife with probably multiple men. And I'm just happen to be the one that says no to it. And now you're mad at it.
Mm-hmm. Did he have his face on the dating app?
Yes. And it's interesting when you go back and look at the pictures, because not that I did that for an hour and a half, and then looked him up on Facebook. And I almost paid $40 for like where he lives.
Search. Yeah.
But then I was like, I
so
don't really
worth
care.
it.
Well, I did care at the moment. But anyway, in the pictures, you could see like his hand was like around somebody. Like you could see the arm going out, but he'd obviously cropped it out.
Her off.
So I have a good mind to find her and tell her that we were supposed to get married, but your husband married you first.
Yeah,
So-
that's kind of crazy.
That's
But
what like dating now, guys. Married
that's
men
what
on the
it's
gay
like.
apps.
A lot of married men on the gay apps.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another denial story.
Oh,
Okay, so I wanted like a second job. Well, like a third job, because it's like a second job, right? So I'm like, I love country music. I absolutely love it. I adore it. I know a lot about it, and I want to share it with the world. So
oh my God. Were you going to be a country music artist?
No. Can you imagine? Maybe lock them doors and they'd be like, that is
They're
the
like,
wrong key.
no.
I'm like, what is a key? So I applied with Gaylord Entertainment to be a
very appropriate.
tour guide at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, you would be great at that.
6:50 a.m. But I got rejected. So here's the thing.
Was it what you look like, or
No, you don't submit a picture or anything like that. But I've been backstage. I love backstage, the environment backstage. I don't know if they do tours. I don't think they do tours when the show is going, but even when you're back there, when no one's back there, it's just like, oh my God, Minnie Pearl was back here, and Garth Brooks has been back here, and like literally Charlie Pride, everybody, Jeannie Pruitt, Satin Sheets to Lie On, that one, and John Connolly, and all these great artists, and it had their names on the wall. There's pictures of them back there. So I'm like, that would be so much fun to do on like a Saturday and a Sunday, give a couple tours and go about my day and meet people and work on public speaking. So I put in there, I'm like, hey, I work in real estate, but I love country music. I'm on this charity. We work with a lot of the artists that are on the Opry all the time. I would love to because it was a part-time position, right? So I'm like, I would love to work part-time, nights, weekends, whatever. I think that would be like so much fun. And usually they're like, 22, 23-year-olds giving tours. They don't know shit. They have to, there's a script, right?
Yeah.
But then I'm like, this is a shoe-in because of the connections and people I know. I got denied. So not only did I get denied on a date, I got denied for a
So they sent an email with like a formal
$12 an
email?
hour job.
Was it a formal email?
Yeah,
Like, Dear
like
Wes, you are not appropriate
Yeah.
for this.
It's not you. Again, it's not you. It's us.
Why don't you call and ask them?
I want to be. I'm going to reach out to a few people.
out
'cause
and
that
say,
would be
what's
so
the-
much fun.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to Nashville and haven't done the tour of the Ryman or the Grand Ole Opry House, you need to do it.
Yeah.
A fan of country music or not, there's a lot of pictures back there of non-country artists that are now gracing the stage, and it's really, really, really neat.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, I'm sorry that happened.
Oh, that's okay. It's just a week of denial, and
You could start
know
giving
what?
tours of the studio.
I could come in here and be like, "Do you know who's
There's
been
a
in here?"
TV right there, and that's where I sit.
We are worldwide, as you can tell. There's Australia. Shout out to Chile. We had a few listeners in Chile now.
Oh, that's right.
And a lot in Australia, mate.
I wonder what happens in Chile where they're like, hey, did you listen to the Two Bottles Deep episode? And they're like, who's
Are
that?
we translated?
I don't know.
Maybe it's in America. I think your brother, when he travels abroad,
He
is
just
like
drops
dropping
cards. Right.
So
Yeah, he
John
loves going to
David,
Chile.
we love
It's his favorite.
Baby back, baby back. That's Chile.
Chili's, yeah.
Okay,
different
got it.
thing. All right. Well, happy Pride Month, everybody.
Yes,
Wes
we
and I
are.
wanted to kick off this Pride Month by doing a little research on some people that we didn't know about that were gay or lesbian or transgender that kind of contributed to society in a positive way. We know the famous gays. We don't want to talk. Yeah,
RuPaul.
we're grateful for all the famous
Andy
gays.
Cohen. Shall I go on?
Yeah.
That's Anderson Cooper,
Yeah.
the guy from Modern Family. Mm-hmm. But one guy is not gay.
Right.
He just plays a really good gay
plays
guy.
gay.
We appreciate that, Cam.
So here's the way we'll do it. We've each come with three people that we would love to teach each other about. And let's see what we can learn. So Wes is up first. Wes, I'm going to play you some lovely intro music.
Nailing it. Get
Nailing
ready for
it.
this
So, ladies and gentlemen, the first famous LGBTQ plus person. Who is it, Wes?
one. It's a guy by the name of Gilbert Baker. Come
Gilbert
on
Baker.
down. I feel like I'm on the prices right now. Gilbert Baker. He has passed away, but you want to hear this guy's story.
Okay.
Did a lot of research. Let me look this up here. I'm going to let you know, Phil, he was born in Kansas in the early 50s.
Ooh.
Different time, conservative area, grew up surrounded by conservative people, felt very trapped. Like a lot of us, knew he was gay from a very, very, very early age, like in the womb, right? Glitter and all that shit.
Yeah.
So when you want to escape a life like that in a conservative area, a lot of people join the military, and Gilbert Baker did.
He did.
He experienced a severe homophobia in basic training, right? Well, then he ended up, he was still in the Army, and then he landed in San Francisco, and he was in like the healthcare part of the Army. What's that called? Oh, he was a medic.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry.
The healthcare part.
He's like does medicine stuff. So anyway, he was in San Francisco. He blossomed. It was great. Like obviously, you come from a small town to a big
Oh,
city.
I bet he loves San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, coming from Kansas, he was like, I'm home.
right? He's like, oh wow, look at all this stuff here. But it was like it still wasn't cool to be gay. Like people,
Sure.
He was friends with Harvey Milk.
Ah,
Remember him?
yes.
There was a movie about him and a great activist who was murdered. And but anyway, here's his rise to fame.
Ooh,
he is
excited.
a vexillographer.
Hold on. Vexillographer.
Vexillographer. There's a lot of ographers around there.
He makes
Something.
what? It's VEX?
VEXILLO grapher.
Okay, I feel really dumb here. What's a vexillographer?
You're gonna know it, and everybody's gonna know it because it's a flag maker. Guess what he made?
He
the
made-
first gay flag. Yes.
Yes.
And he sewed it. I remember Pride 2 seasons ago, maybe our first season, we talked about the colors and like they didn't have pink one year because it was like they couldn't find the dye and stuff. But he was like sewing flags together, dyeing each color before all these machines make flags. So he hand swoven or stitched it or whatever. But he's a record holder. He created the pride flag.
Hold on, he's a record holder?
Record holder because he has the world. Not only did he create the pride flag, he has the largest pride flag.
Oh,
which
wow.
was, guess how long, Phil?
27 feet.
It was 30 feet wide and 5,280 feet long, which is exactly 1 mile. So anyway, yeah.
How do you sew that?
I guess in like, yeah, that can't fit through the sewing machine. So I guess you sew sections and then re-sew it or something like that. Anyway, this was like post Stonewall era. There was a lot of movements. He's made flags for the DNC 1984 DNC convention.
Okay.
That was held somewhere. He made flags and banners for that. What else? Okay, so the rainbow flag, June 25th, 1978. That's when it was created. It was dyed.
I was
and
4
sewed
years
by him
old.
in himself. Yes, there you go. So get this. So Betsy Ross made the American flag. So his drag name is Busty Ross.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Ladies and gentlemen, Busty Ross.
Yes, Mayor Dianne Feinstein. It caught the eye of her, the Paramount Flag Company, and numerous other high-profile commissions. And then that's when, once he started getting that's when the DNC is like, hey, it's 1984, come do this, right? Here's some other facts. So that's the longest flag. How many people? So they marched it in a parade.
Okay.
30 feet wide, 1 mile long. You want to guess how many people it took to carry that flag?
Let's see. 1 mile times 4 divided by 7. Carry the 1. 122 people.
5,000 people, Phil. Come on down. You're wrong.
5,000 people carried a flag.
Yes, through a parade. And how do you turn streets
Are
with
you
that?
just above your head?
arms. Well, no, they have holders on it.
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then he
where
broke.
is it? Wonder where the flag is now.
Well, here I don't know where that flag is. It's probably hanging in a museum or something. Because
Big
he
museum.
he has in the New York City Met. He has flags in there and stuff like that. But he topped that record. Right,
Another big flag.
he topped his flag. No pun intended. Record broke his own record, stretched from sea to shining sea, Gulf of Mexico to the Atlantic. So not sea to shining sea because the Gulf of Atlantic does.
Hold on. He made a flag that went from the Gulf of Mexico to the Atlantic.
The Key West Pride. So but the Gulf of Mexico flows into.
Yeah, but that just still seems like a big.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now that flag was so big, it was cut into sections and distributed to 100 different cities across the world.
Well, that's cool.
So another really quick, because we're digging in time here. The red on the flag, in case anyone is wondering, the red means life, orange means healing, yellow means the sun. That's pretty cool. Green is nature, blue is serenity now, purple is spirit, turquoise is art and magic, and pink was for sex. Pink is the one they dropped in 1979 due to product shortages. He's had multiple awards. The Philly Out and Proud Award, 2013. San Francisco created an award bearing his name in 2015. He has given a hand-sewn, hand-dipped flag to Barack Obama as well. And then he had a stroke in 2012, recovered, started sewing costumes for drag queens and all this other stuff, and then passed away in 2017. So we have a lot to thank.
Yes.
Gilbert Baker for.
Gilbert Baker.
That's his name.
Thank you for being gay and for making the flag.
Making the flag that so many Republicans hate.
I wonder if you make the flag, do you get paid every time you sell the
He
flag?
did not patent it.
Oh,
Yeah.
girl.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
You had one job. I bet every time you saw one, you'd be like $14. It could have been $100.
Yeah. And then he didn't have a family. He, I think he had a longtime partner or something. But his sister kind of has a charity for him and stuff like that. So Gilbert Baker, look him up. He's got a website and everything.
Thank you, Gilbert, for doing what you did. All right. Are you ready for my famous person?
I am. I don't know who it is.
Oh, I'm so nervous. Let's see. Let me get you a little intro. Oh. I give you Leonardo da Vinci.
I thought it was Beethoven.
Yeah.
He's gay?
I kept typing in Leonardo, and it was like, DiCaprio? I'm like, no, not him.
Bring
We've
him
all
into
heard of
this.
Leonardo da Vinci, right? Everybody's heard of him.
painter.
Born in 1452, which is 571 years ago in Italy, but still to this day, he is considered one of the smartest humans in human history.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay, I'm ready.
You mentioned what was your word?
Vexillography?
Vexillography. I've got a word for you. He was a polymath. What do you think?
So
Polymath.
he knew like 3 different maths,
That's what I thought too.
multiple maths. Like
thought
because
the same thing.
polyamorous is
Yeah.
poly.
A polymath is a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning. He was a polymath because he was good at so much stuff. The thing he's most famous for, he painted the Mona Lisa.
Oh, wasn't he the
Last
ceiling
Supper?
guy? The
No.
ceiling.
Was that
He
him?
didn't paint the
The
ceiling.
Sistine Chapel?
Yeah.
Google that real quick. Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. He was an engineer, a scientist, a theorist, a sculptor, an architect. I mean, this guy was, pretty amazing. Here's one thing that most people don't know. He conceptualized flying machines. This is what?
Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He conceptualized flying machines. This is 570 years ago, and he was already thinking about planes. Obviously, there was no technology at that time
Before
to do it.
Southwest.
Way
for
before
sure.
Southwest. He worked on concentrated solar power. He created a ratio machine that ended up becoming a calculator many years later. He invented a machine for testing the tensile strength of wire. And he also made substantial discoveries in
Wow.
anatomy, civil engineering, hydrodynamics, and geology. I mean, this man was,
Way smarter than I am.
he's a good polymath, if you know what I mean. There was a little controversy about was he gay or not. Most every scholar that's studied him said for sure. He was 24 when he was formally accused of sodomy for allegedly consorting with a 17-year-old sex worker. Wonder if you checked his
They
ID.
had those back then?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. When do you think
Wow.
sex work started?
I don't know.
4 years ago.
The Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Or
So yeah, he got arrested for consorting with a 17-year-old sex worker, but couldn't find any information on what happened with the charges. But he pretty much lived his life celibate. He was. This is my favorite.
sad.
I know. This is my favorite quote about him. He was creatively infatuated with women, but loved men. I'm gonna start telling people
Yeah,
that.
he's gay.
I'm just creatively infatuated with her.
On the side of when you say you're the attaché
I'm
to
the
French.
attaché de Crete.
Oh, Crete.
Yeah. So Leonardo da Vinci, he's done so
Wow.
much
Way
stuff.
to go,
but
Leo.
yeah, 571 years ago, this gay guy is just like changing the world.
Just having it out.
Yeah.
Well, but then he couldn't live his true life. Like maybe he was happy.
Yeah.
Let's go through this. Maybe he was happy. He was living his life.
Well,
But
also
do you
at
think
that
he was
point,
really celibate, or he just got caught once. But you can't live your true life
yeah.
back then.
I mean, I'm sure he wasn't on like the Italian version of Grindr in 500 years ago, but
He was he was in the forefront of flying, so he may
Yeah.
have had his own little app.
but also like at that point there was no like language for gay. Like that wasn't something really talked about. So I guess it would be hard to say I'm gay at that point. So maybe he's just like
Maybe that
I'm
one.
just I don't know. I like
But wasn't it more, and it may be a different country, but wasn't it more like men have been married for
Yeah.
like centuries?
yeah. But I don't think it was, it wasn't called
So-
gay. It was, I don't know what it was called, but
Like life, normal.
yeah.
Like I think Americans have it messed up. I think we have redefined it into something like bad, like the 40s and 50s. Because back in the years, like everything was like normal. People were like, "But who you want to be with? Live in love." And then, you
Yeah.
know, now things happen.
then religion happened.
Oh, I was gonna go there, but I did not want beat up. So
I'll beat you up.
hate mail. over there.
So anyway, thank you to Leonardo
All
da
right.
Vinci for everything that
Painting
you
that.
gave us. Yes.
Painting
Thank you
that
for being
great.
gay or mostly gay and infatuated with women.
You know what, Leo? Live your life. dude.
Live your life.
boo.
All right.
Pave the way for us, Phil.
I have a good sound effect for your next one. Are you ready?
Oh, I do.
Just say the name and I'm going to give you a good old intro.
We're going with Roberta Cowell.
Oh. What is
Wow. Wait till you hear this shit.
something about a plane?
Yes, but he was born Bob Cowell in London, maybe Simon Cowell's heirs or descendants. People before Simon. His name is Bob Cowell, born 1918, and he was married. So get this. He was married to a lady he met in London. They settled in. He became a fighter pilot. He was
Oh.
a race car driver.
Oh, he was a man.
Two children. But again, this was around 1948, somewhere in there. And their two children were like under 3. And he's like, I'm not living my true life. So, I mean, fast forward, here we are with, who was the Olympian guy? Caitlyn Jenner, right? So this is like him, but earlier. And so pilot, race car driver, he was shot down in a war. He was a prisoner of war, right?
Goodness.
And he just was not living his true self. So he left the family. His daughters recall, one daughter was like 3 or 4. The other one doesn't remember because she was 1.
Where did Daddy go?
Yeah, they were at a racetrack and they were like waving him as he like went out to the racetrack. It was the last time they saw him.
Stop.
Yeah, no joke.
He
right?
left him at the racetrack?
Well, the mom was there.
Well,
And-
yeah, but still.
yeah.
She's like, I hate racing now.
He's just like, well, she quickly married. And then, funny enough, Bob, his parents raised the daughters, sent them to boarding school. That's what you do over there, right?
Yeah.
So the wife divorced him, moved on because she wanted to get that traumatic experience out of her head, had
Yes.
3 more children. The youngest girl didn't really know about Bob becoming Roberta. So Robert to Roberta.
Okay.
Big stretch there, right?
Right.
So
He's like, I wonder what I should call myself once I transition.
add the A.
Yeah, just
It
add an
starts
A.
at the beginning of the alphabet, right? So anyway, he knew deep down inside that he was always female, right? And then they did a test. Let me find it here somewhere. They did a test, like in
an
the
ACT
40s.
test?
No, they did a test. He had no Adam's apple. He had more like women like skin tones and like skin makeup, the hair as well, and no Adam's apple. So even back in the 40s and 50s, these doctors over there, like they called it sexologist, was really on his side, right? But this was before the first trans person and all that stuff. So he is basically known as one of the first ones, but prisoner of war, had all this. So
That's
let's
a
fast
crazy
forward.
life.
He became friends with these neighbors that he had. So in London or outside of London somewhere, they have all these like little houses and then the yards, kind of like here, they butt up to each other, but then like their gardens were intermixed.
Yeah.
So he became friends with this husband and wife,
Uh-oh.
Lisa and her husband.
throuple
And they had
story.
like 40 cats or something like that. Really weird. And he was writing books in his heyday about this transition again before it was the norm. He was still hated on and whatnot. So he received a lot of hate. People around him and his like distant family thought he transitioned for money and to write books. No joke. And he's like, no, I didn't. But he did make some money off of a book, tried to write another book, and then just went into hiding, lived his rest of his life in this house. When they found her dead, like they could barely get her out of the house. The paramedics could because it was just so junked up and stuff like that. Hoarderish, I guess.
She was kind of a hermit.
Yes, there you go.
Aw.
And then Roberta's like best friend Lisa had passed, but she remained really good friends with the husband who was still next door. But here's the moral of the story too. His daughters are now grown, children, families of their own. They had been looking for their dad. You know,
Oh, because he left at the racetrack.
he left at the racetrack as Robert or Bob and became Roberta and was living this life, would never reach out to them. His granddaughters reached out to him. He never returned it. So I don't know what was going through his head, if he was just depressed and was like, that was my old life. That's not me. But his daughters are quoted as saying they wanted to be his friend. As they became adults, they let the hate go and they just wanted to be there for him and they were proud of him, but he never knew that. So lesson of this story I took is be your true self. Those who love you will be there for you. And people that you think may not like you, maybe he was hiding because he didn't think his family or daughters wanted him since he abandoned them. And they actually could have had a really good relationship.
Do you think they paged him at the track? They were like, Bob, if you're still here, could you please report to the snack stand, Bob? Like those poor kids, when they got home that night, they were like, where do you think Daddy is?
He's still racing. He's still racing.
Because you wouldn't think. I wonder if the mom had any inkling. Like, did Bob dress in women's clothing? You know, did she catch him, or was she just like so shocked that this man left with no warning?
I think she knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she knew because I mean she moved on with her life like immediately.
Yeah.
There was no waiting or anything else.
That's pretty crazy though. Fighter pilot, POW, race car driver. and then end up dying alone in your house.
Dying alone. And I mean, going through a lot. He died, or I'm sorry, Roberta died in 2011. He went
Oh,
through-
wow.
he-
That was...
Yeah, he lived to 93 something years old. But
Okay.
he was born in 1918, lived to 2011. And, his reassignment surgery was, we've talked about other trans people in the 50s and 60s. His was 1948.
And this was the first?
First one.
Wow.
First
So he
one.
was the first
Yep.
trans surgery.
And his doctor, check this stuff out. His doctor was female to male trans. Boom.
Wow.
So I transitioned, I guess, after him, or he was the first doctor to do it. But anyway,
Yeah.
he was one of the first ones in the world.
I love how
we
the
know
I love how the family was like, you know what, Bob, Roberta's just doing this for money. Like she's just transitioning for who would do that? Who would transition for just like I'm going to go through all this
Well,
pain
I
to get paid?
I think as a family, they try to justify it. And they're like,
Oh,
well, that's
yeah.
really not him. Because I don't know if you got this when you came out, but it's like, you just haven't met the right one yet.
Yeah.
You haven't dated enough women. I'm like, well, I dated one. And then that was, a
And she's
few.
great.
She's great. Hey, Mac. But I dated like 2 women with kids. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that did not work out.
I'm-
I mean, it was years ago and I was still trying. Now I don't even try to be straight.
They're
But
like, yeah, I like kids. I mean, hey, bro,
what do
can
they
I see your
talk
kids,
like?
bro? I don't know why I'm doing my head like that.
I
but-
know, right? But anyway,
Well, Roberta, we want to say thank you.
life well lived.
Yes, for being the first trans person to have the surgery, and sorry you were a
1948.
POW and your family accused you of doing it for money.
Doing
but
it for money. And I hope she made some money. She did make some money off that book. So.
yeah. All right. I'm ready for mine.
Bill, who
You're-
do you got?
Hey, let me cue up a little fun music. Oh. I'd like to talk about Walt Whitman. Do you know who that is, Wes?
An author.
Yes.
Okay.
He is one of the fathers of American poetry. He only attended school until he was 11, which is crazy to me because he went on to be one of the most famous writers ever. So stopped school at 11 because his family was super big and they had a lot of stuff going on. So he literally had to drop out of school, never went back. And then at the age of 23, I was like going out and trying to get drunk at 23. He wrote his most famous book called Leaves of Grass. But initially the book was not popular.
Yeah, because grass doesn't have leaves.
Well, no, because it mentioned homosexual relationships.
Oh.
And it was deemed indecent.
What year was that? Do we know?
Let's see. He was born in 1819, so whatever
Oh,
23
my
is. Yeah,
gosh.
so it's
Wow,
early
okay.
1900s. But the crazy part is it was bad reviews for years, but now is considered to be the greatest contribution to American poetry.
Good.
The greatest.
By most people.
Yeah. But the good thing about let me tell you about his relationship. He meets his soon-to-be, I guess, partner, who is 40-ish years younger than him. Walt Whitman was on a single-car train in Washington, D.C., and he meets the train conductor, whose name is Peter Doyle, and they start dating. So big age difference, and a big difference in Peter Doyle was very poor, very uneducated. Walt Whitman at this point was very famous and a writer, so a big difference there. But they stayed together for the rest of his life. And the thing that's most important about that relationship is that Peter became kind of the muse, the person that gave him creativity to Walt, and that's when Walt wrote his most famous poem called "O Captain, My Captain."
I've heard of that.
And I didn't know this, but "O Captain, My Captain" was written about Abraham Lincoln. So Walt Whitman's boyfriend, Peter, was actually in the Ford Theater when Lincoln was shot. And he was so moved by that experience that he wrote "O Captain, My Captain." And in that poem, the ship captain is Abe Lincoln, and the storm is slavery. So I thought that was super interesting.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Here's a clip of "O Captain, My Captain" if you don't know it, because I think it's important to hear.
O Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack. The prize we sought is won.
Do you remember this, Wes?
The port is
No.
near. The bells I hear.
Heard of the name.
The people all exulting. while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring.
So there's your "Oh Captain, My Captain." It goes on for a while,
It's like
but
a good analogy because Lincoln was like the captain of the American ship,
yes,
which is the presidency.
yeah.
That is so neat.
So after he writes this, they're still together and still dating. Whitman has a stroke and is confined to his bed for quite a while. He's got money now because he's released all these books and poems, so he's got money to pay for people to help. But he and Peter never lived together. They were together their whole life, but never actually lived together because it was illegal, still in the U.S. to be in a relationship like that. So Peter Doyle came every single day to check on Walt Whitman every day before work and didn't miss a day per all the writings. So I thought it was super sweet. And the sad part for me was, well, not just for me, but when Walt Whitman died, there was zero mention of his partner, Peter Doyle, in any of the eulogies. It was just that, Walt Whitman was a great man. But without that relationship, we wouldn't have any of these great poems.
Right.
So because of a gay relationship, you are listening to "Oh Captain, My Captain" and reading "Leaves of Grass" and the most the father of American poetry. So kudos to you, Walt Whitman.
Amazing. There's people out there and be like, well, now that I know that, I'm not reading that damn poem again.
Leaves of ass, maybe.
They love you until they find out the real stuff. And then they're like, well, that's against my religion because that starts wars.
I don't think growing up, no one ever mentioned Walt. I mean, why would you mention Walt Whitman was gay? That would be weird maybe in a fourth grade to be like, today we're going to talk about gay Walt Whitman.
Well, we talk about this in our community. It's like, do we have to put all these adjectives before us? Like, hey, I'm going to a gay wedding. No, you're going to a wedding.
Yeah.
But it's the time and season of society that we were in. And back then it was just a lot different.
Yeah.
And it does make me very thankful, even though we have struggles and anxiety and depression, and there's so much going on in this world for any community. But back then, being gay, we have it so good.
Yeah.
Thanks to people like that who suffered their whole life. And sometimes it takes a couple generations to change one little thing. But what a great
And the
life
fact
well
that
lived
he
and
was
changed the world.
so inspired by this boyfriend that he wrote all this beautiful poetry. So that's why
And
gay lives matter.
yeah, the GLM.
I like that, the GLM.
I wonder. I just lost my train of thought. Oh, like all these big words. Like, did everybody talk like that back in the day? Because I think are we educated differently now?
Well, and there's a ton more slang that wasn't present. I mean, a lot of you can hear people talk now and there's no like actual English words. It's just bussin', no cap. I'm like, what? What's happening here? My niece and nephew always do that to me. They're like, hey, Uncle Fuff, are you bussin'? I'm like, I hope not. I should change clothes if I am. They're like, what?
Oh, I took it like you have a car. You're not bussing places.
No, I think bussin's good.
What's bussing?
I think it's about food. I don't know. Could someone help us with that one?
Yeah. Let's have a slang
episode.
Yeah. Let's get fresh.
You're too legit to quit. That was really bad. Sorry.
Yeah, that was like white guy rapper.
I'm now 100.
You are too legit to quit. P. Diddy.
Oh,
Or what do I say? Snoop Dogg E-Dog.
Snoop Dogg E-Dog.
Yes.
All right, babe, you are up, and here's your intro, and I'm so excited to know who you're going to teach me about today.
This is celebrity crushes. Gay celebrity crushes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Kid Rock. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, he's gay?
No, not so much.
right.
Dan Savage.
Oh,
Do you know Dan Savage?
I used to listen to his sex radio show only because it was the only place anybody was talking about gay stuff, and it was very salacious in my mind. But all right,
It's like
go ahead,
Dr.
tell me.
Ruth
Yeah.
or whatever those the columns were big back in the day, and his friend started The Onion. If you ever listened to
that's
or
right.
watched it,
Yeah.
like the funny ones. Well, they started the one called The Stranger, The Strange, something like that. He's from Illinois. He's an Illinoisan as well. Went to the University of Illinois, which I grew up close to there, and moved to Madison, Wisconsin, which is a very LGBT friendly city up in that state, and met this guy. His last name is Keck, and he started The Onion. And he moved. He had this idea to start this publication, moved to Seattle, and then Dan's like, if you need someone to write, I'll write. And they gave him a job.
Boom.
So he moved out there, and he has blown up since. He's married. He's a long-time marriage. They adopted a son, or had a son via surrogate many years ago. But anyway, he's an activist, an author, a media pundit, and look that word up, and a journalist. His Lovecast is his podcast. You can find him at savage.love. That is his website. A great podcast, great writer. You've probably seen him on the news. You've probably seen him do different clips. One of the favorite things I love about him, and I did not know this, I've seen his picture, I've read his stuff. It's great. Like you, it's the sex stuff. It's kind of like our own little outlet. But I did not know he started the It Gets Better project.
I didn't know that either.
You know, it's like when President Obama and Shaquille O'Neal and everybody's like, kids, it gets better. So, if you don't know the IGBP, the It Gets Better project, it's about coming out, overcoming bullying, and creating a life worth living. There's 50,000 videos of like celebrities and just normal people like us that do it, that spread it out there. And there's over 50 million views on those.
Wow.
So he has created, it's kind of like the Ice Bucket Challenge for ALS. It just creates a lot of buzz. And then, and I think if we're not learning, we aren't living. So 50 million people have seen this. He started it because there was a 15-year-old boy who was bullied at school for, everybody assumed he was gay when he committed suicide. So that's how Dan Savage started the It Gets Better project. And I remember Barack Obama did one. That's the most famous one I remember, but there's a ton of just famous and everybody else that does that. His columns you have to check out. Google and look. It's sex advice. He's wrote a book. It's called Savage Love from A to Z. It's advice on sex and relationships, dating and mating, exes and extras. So a lot of learning there. It's on Amazon. That one came out during the pandemic. So,
Dating and mating.
Yes. An interesting fact about him, he grew up very religious in a Catholic school. And these schools that he went to in Illinois, all these kids mostly go on to be priest. Well, now he's like atheist and gay and whatnot. So moral of that story, like no matter where your parents put you, and he's one of 4 children, I think. No matter where your parents put you, and if you're a parent out there, no matter what wherever you put your kid, they are who they are.
Yeah.
Right. And he's grown to do probably the most successful anybody in that school. I would assume, I don't know his schoolmates, but 50 million people have seen your views on loving people and don't kill yourself. So thank you, Dan Savage.
Thank you, Dan Savage. Yeah, I definitely used to listen to him because, like I said, it was the only way for me to hear about sex. Not that I couldn't find it, but I was so intrigued by somebody who was so open about sexuality and every part of it. Like he would write in like letters from people, and I'm just like, people talk about this? I just didn't know anybody was talking about sex. So it made it very, that's why I am very comfortable talking about it, because I think Dan Savage helped me with that.
Yes. And you're affecting people too. When people hear you and me and anybody speak, it's just that they kind of have an outlet. He actually wanted to call his column, Hey Faggot, because he wanted to take back that word. Kind of like when we talked about queer a few episodes ago. He wanted to call it that. And they're like, yeah, that's a little too far. You know about sex.
Right.
So he started his column, Hey Faggot. It couldn't be called that, but he had put it in his article because he wanted to take back that word.
Well, thank you, Dan Savage, for helping us talk about sex.
Yes, and all you've done to open it up. And I think, too, when I was growing up, the birds and the bees, like my parent, we didn't have all those talks. And I don't know if that's a normal thing parents do or don't do with their kids. I'm sure there's studies on it, but I'm like, we just kind of learned, and we had like one sex ed class. So talk about it, be about it. And you're really good about being very open about a lot of stuff in your life. And I commend you.
I have learned that is good for me, but it also helps people feel comfortable telling their truth. So, all right. So our last one, who
is it?
I would like to talk about Alan Turing. I think I'm saying his name right. Alan Turing, you may know this guy. He's only the father of modern computer science, one of the most innovative and powerful thinkers of the 20th century, and the most influential code breaker of World War II. This guy was responsible for breaking the Nazi Enigma code. So that was where the Nazis would create this secret way to communicate, and that way they could tell each other where the Allied ships were. Well, because of Allen's work, he could break the code and therefore ended the war years sooner than it would have ended. He was the subject of that movie Imitation Game by Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't know if you saw it. It's a wonderful movie.
Wow.
Okay. It came out in 2014. But here's the sad. I feel like there's always a sad part to these things.
But
I mean, this is a man who literally is responsible for, the war ending. I mean, not solely responsible, other things, but he definitely sped up the end of the war. A few years after that, he was engaged to be married to a woman named Joan Clark. But he later withdrew the offer after he told her he was gay, and they became friends and stayed friends after that. But 10 years after all this happened, after he saves the world, the police were at his house investigating a burglary, and he casually mentioned something about having a relationship with a guy. They arrest him for gross indecency. He pleads guilty, and then he was forced to undergo chemical castration, which is where you take 1 year of female hormone estrogen. This reduces your sex drive, makes you impotent, and then he developed gynecomastia, which is where men grow breasts. So for 2 years, this guy was dealing with chemical castration, probably the shame of that with the breast issue, and then probably angry that no one said thank you for saving the world. And
wow, how
on
interesting
June
is that?
7th, 1954, he was 41 years old, 2 years after his conviction. He was found by his housekeeper dead. Supposedly, he had eaten an apple coated with cyanide. The only reason I said supposedly is they never tested the apple, and so there's some question as to did he do it or. But yeah, so he never knew that anyone was grateful for his work. Because 13 years later, that's when England started taking steps towards decriminalizing homosexuality. A little late, and then in 2009. The Queen, she apologized. She's like, I'm so sorry that we chemically castrated you. Like, what?
Yeah, I thought she was like progressive all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe
guess
not.
But anyway, Alan Turing, he's contributed so much. He's actually one of the people who helped the computer, the actual modern computer, be created. So this gay guy really gave a lot to the world. Then they castrated him.
Yeah, that's crazy. They would give him stuff like hormones, so you can't date men, but yet let me give you hormones.
But how does that keep you, even if you're impotent, how does that keep you from messing around?
And I like
you
how
could be
they were
impotent
like-
and still have sex.
They were like checking out his place for like burglary, and they're like, "Wait, you gay? Oh, hold on. All right, changing it up. Handcuffs
Looks like
out."
there's a rainbow kitchen towel on your sink. And he's like, oh, yeah, I had sex with a guy one time. And they're like, castration.
How is that even a thing? I mean, different time, right?
Different time.
It's still like that. Some people still think it won't. Like it shouldn't happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alan Turing.
Thank you, Alan. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, yes.
And that just goes to show that our world is made up of all different creeds, colors, types, sex, religions, everything, and we can all coexist.
And we all can contribute to society. The people that, that you don't think have done anything, look, they've changed the world.
They've changed the world. And, today is, we're recording this a few days early. We're going down to Franklin Pride.
Yep.
If you remember that episode 3 or 4 episodes ago, it barely passed. We got a gaggle of straights, a gaggle of gays, and we're going down to support those people in Franklin, Tennessee. And
I'm looking for the Rainbow Room. Remember, they were giving out the butt plugs and dildos. So
I'm just going to look for that lady stand outside crying because apparently the world is ending because of a flag.
Well, and there's going to be somebody
not
holding a
religion.
sign about, God hates fags and all. I'm just going to wave at them and be kind.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, turn around with the assless chaps.
Yeah.
and-
Oh, you're wearing that again. Oh, I can't wait to see that.
No, guess what shirt? We'll post a picture, but I have my Make America Gay Again shirt.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Everybody thinks it's Trump, and they're like, get that. Wait a minute. I like that
He's
shirt.
gay.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But hey, can we talk about a Trump-appointed judge? This came out hours ago. Breaking news that you're going to hear 4 days later, and probably have already heard before we told you. But breaking as of right now. What happened, Phil?
Yeah, it's no longer a crime to be a drag queen.
Yes. Trump-appointed judge here in Tennessee said it is unconstitutional to hate on the drag queens. So Vivica Steele, our other friends, Obscenity. We have
all the girls. I mean, this is a
Kennedy
huge
Ann.
yeah.
Kennedy Ann.
This is a huge victory
yes.
for the drag queens. I'm really, I mean, they really worked hard to show, to be visible in our community and in Tennessee in general. And I think they did a great job not turning to hate most of the time.
They did it. They did a great job.
Yeah, they really did.
They did a great job.
So all good news today. We're about to head to
Yes.
Pride. I'm very excited
it.
for that. Wes, happy Pride to you, babe.
Happy Pride, Phil. I love you. I love what we're doing. I love our listeners. I love the feedback.
Yeah,
Life gets crazy. We just got to love.
we're going to go hug everybody.
Let's do it. Free
All right.
mom hugs.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Free TBD hugs coming straight at you. Love y'all.
Bye, guys.
Happy Pride. I don't know how to dance. Is this
Yeah, I've
woke?
noticed that.
I'm woke, y'all.
I don't think that makes you woke.
Okay.
Maybe it does.
Could be. We'll find out on
All
the
right.
Jack stage. I like that song.
Thanks for listening to another great episode of Two Bottles Deep.
Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast.
And while you're at it, write us a fabulous review.
Please reach out to us on our email, twobottlesdeep@gmail.com.
There is plenty of love in this world. Be a part of it.